Hey, I hope you're well. Let's go through a little more about Baahubali today. Get on your kit and let's learn this, okay? You're doing great. The last few lessons were the first part of the song, and we reached the point where you would be the man is singing, and there's a part of the song where there's a break between where the man sings and the woman. there's about there's you could tell that it's coming close to the end. It's about a minute, almost a minute into the song. So if you're going on YouTube, uh, this part will the cymbal hits are between 50 or so and after 50 seconds and after. Okay, so let's go through today. We're going to just do two parts. We're going to do the end of where the man is singing, and then we're going to go through the beginning of the part where the woman starts. Okay, so I'm going to change pages here. All right. Now this, let's take a look. Excuse me for the not being ready. All right. So last week, let's take a look. Last lesson we did the groove. We did the groove on the toms, which is cool. And then there's three different cymbal breaks. There's a this is where the song is starting to. The man is still singing, but he does this groove, and then he goes into a measure of cymbals. Then he does this tom groove, okay, which is pretty cool and hard to do, but it's only one measure. Then he goes into the same kind of a different cymbal break, different break of measure of cymbals. And then he does like a legitimate 16th note tom roll, you would call this, or a tom roll, or a fill, basically a traditional fill. Then he goes into this last cymbal break, and then at the end he ends up with like the normal groove for half the measure ends at 2. Then he does this paradiddle, which is on 4. So let's let's really quickly review just the cymbals, okay? Because the rest of the fills I think you can get, and we already went through them. Just the cymbals. So let's do this first one, this one here. This one's just pretty simple. It's 1 and the and of 2, the 3 and the and of 3, and then there's a like a and on the 4 you just move your left hand. For a right-handed driver you move it to the high tom. So let's just take a look. We can get okay. So you can see basically see that I basically only have a high tom and not a middle tom. So we're going to do this. Ready? I've got my so I'm going to move it a bit so you can see. Good. That's my left hand cymbal, my right hand crash, my right cymbal. All right. Okay, let's do this top one. That one there. All right. 1. Do it again. One more time. Okay. And up on the left. For right-handed drummer, you end up on the high tom. Now let's do the second. So then he does this, and let's do that one time. Okay, that was this. Then he goes in. Now that one you might want to slow down, really slow. The only tricky part is that he does a diddle on 3, I believe. Yeah, the E and the and of 3, and the right hand is going from the 3 on the cymbal down to the and on the floor, while the left hand is doing E and E and on the mid tom. I don't have a mid tom, so I'm going to play it on the high tom. that's what it is. 3. All right, then you just finish. I'm gonna start at 3, and let's go right into this symbol measure. The only difference between this one and this one is that you kind of like you don't crash on the and of 3. You kind of come back to the right symbol, and then you crash on 4. Let's try it. I'm going to start with 3 and, all right? Okay. So that's measure 16. Let's do 16 one, just alone. 16, just 16. Ready? Just notice 4 has that kick drum with the cymbal head and the snare on the same, on 4. All right, that's that crash. That's that cymbal break. And now we do kind of a regular fill, which is sort of like this. Right. Now let's do this cymbal break, and this one is a little tricky. And please add, I didn't write this in, but please add the kick drums on the of 2 and the 3. Please add those kick drums because it always sounds better when you kick in with the cymbal. If your foot speed is good enough, these have to be your foot and your crashing have to be no flamming whatsoever. So try your best. Slow it down, practice slow, and then speed it up. Okay, so let's try this. It's 16th notes though. You can get it really. It's sounds cool when you put the kick drum on there. So here, this is 18. Let's count it out. You're gonna crash 1, crash on, where is it? Yeah, 1. Then it comes to the right cymbal, and then the right cymbal and the snare. So that would be like. Then 3 16th notes basically in a row. Okay, so let's try that. All it is you alternate your hands on the cymbal. So you're basically, let's say whatever, say you just went on 2, your right hand is going to be on the right cymbal on 2, but you got to come back with the right cymbal, with the crash on the and of 2. 2 and, right? Right. 2 and, 2 and, right? That's how it goes. 2 and, that's 2 and then you finish it up and with another crash. So let's do the whole measure. This is how it sounds. Let's do it really kind of like a slower. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. That's what I did for not looking. I missed that one. One more time, sorry. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Okay, that's enough of that. Okay, that takes a little practice. So go slow like that. 1, 2, and count your 16th notes. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. Right? Okay. Do it about that tempo. Really slow it down, and then you can slowly. When you get that, slowly get it perfectly, and then just slightly increase the speed. You'll get it. All right. So let's do this last measure. This is where he's winding down. The song kind of comes to a kind of a halt. The music here, they kind of crash, and then there's a rest, a measure, and then there's basically, I think there's only one wind instrument playing during this No drums, no drums. So here, let's just practice this fill. I mean, there's measures. So it's half a measure of some kind of a groove. So it's 1 and 2 and 3. The 4 is high tom, left hand, left on the snare, and a diddle on the floor. And then crash with your left if you're a right-handed drummer. And got it? So let's do that one more time. All right, pretty good. What we've just covered. So this is the end of, like I said, this is where the man stops singing, and then there's a rest. Now, there's actually 2 measures where this wind instrument plays, and this. Let's go to page 2 now. All right. 2 measures. And I don't want to lose this one. Let me just put it down. Move this back. Okay, now. Can you see that? I hope you can see this is looking blurry for some odd reason. All right. Does that look better? Okay, so let's go through. Just really quick. This is a he stops, but there's a measure that there's just that wind instrument. The wind instrument's still playing here, just to sync up on the music when you're playing. When you listen to the music, there's that measure prior to this, the wind instrument plays, and this measure, the wind instrument plays. But what the drummer does is he wants to fill it, he wants to lead into the rest of the song, which is all, which starts here when the woman starts to sing here. Okay, so this practice, the way it's written, he does a diddle. I don't have a middle tom, so I can't really just demo it very well, and I'm not going to do it. But anyway, just play it the way it's written here. Just start. Now, the one thing to notice here is, up to now, there was the kick drum has not been a straight 4, like a 4 and a 4. But right here, when he starts doing 4 on the floor with both the bass and the hi-hat, basically. So start your feet going 4 on the floor together, and you know, 1, right? Okay, that's what he's going to do for the rest of the song, which makes life simple or easier, not simple. Let's go to this measure. Now this is brand new, this is a tom groove, and it's an amazing tom groove. I like this tom groove a lot. It really is kind of cool sounding. What makes it sound good is the way the drummer plays it. He plays it with, he definitely has dynamics. He's using an electronic kit, and the version I've heard on YouTube, even on that kit, on the electronic Yamaha, or yeah, I think it could be anyway. It's electronic. It's beautiful. He does a really good job of bringing out the accents. So I wrote in where these notes are accented, and it really makes the groove. So when you're practicing this, you definitely want to make sure that you're using, you want to accent, and you want to do ghost notes. So the accents, you could see they're written. So we're on measure 22. Measure 22, in case you need it. And the accents are on 1, the of 1, the and of 2, and 4. Okay, so if you just play it, it's let's just do let's just sound what what it sounds like just on the snare. 1 and 2 and and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So now if I was doing 4 on the floor, I would suggest, if you're a beginner, to do it this way. If you're intermediate to advanced, just go for the whole thing. All right. So let's, like if I was a beginner and I really, well, everybody's a beginner when they start the song. So it's like, you know, how would I start it? I would probably do that. I would do the feet first, right? And then I would just like get used to the rhythm. Then I would probably go, what is it, what's the tom pattern? What's the hand pattern on the toms? So the hand pattern, without any, I would not do any accents at the beginning, just to make it simple. So it's right, and the E is a rest on 1, right? The E is a rest. That's where your left, if you're a right-handed drummer, that's where your left hand would play. But so you're not playing your left hand. I would probably do right, left. Keep my left hand on the high tom. So it would be sort of like a floor tom, high tom, right? Now that first floor tom would be an accent. And then that high tom would be accented. Not like this. Give it a snap. 1 and 2, right? 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. All right. Then now let's do 1 and 2 together. Now you notice the and of 2 is played on the mid tom, which I don't have, which you would play it with the, if you're a right-handed drummer, you would play it, you would bring your hand from 2 on the floor, at 2 on the floor up to the mid tom. So it's, I'm not going to have that. So I'm going to do it like this. Right? Wait, I'm sorry. I was playing it wrong. 1 and right? 1 and that's it. 1 and that's better. So it's 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 3 and 1 and then that's so you're just get those accents right on the and of 2, and then try to follow it with the light, and that's on the mid tom. Okay. So 3 and 4 simple. So just finish it up. Bring your hand back down from your mid tom, if you have a mid tom. Bring it back down to the floor and play a paradiddle. Right, and then they'll finish it up with a really strong left hand, or finish it up on the snare really strong on 4. Right, and that. And this drummer actually accents E, which is optional, the E of 3. So let's go to the next measure down here. And I wrote that here, optional accent on the E of 3, optional. Actually, he does that, so he breaks it up. He doesn't want to, I think it's monotonous to play the same groove for like 8 measures without any change. So he kind of breaks it up. So anyway, he does this one time, he does this once, then he does this measure, which is basically the same measure. It's the same groove as that. It's the same thing. The only thing is he adds this little bitty diddle with the finish on the end of 4. he adds that in, and he kind of uses that as ghost notes, and it sounds a little more full and like a really cool tom groove, like you're really, like it's got a good flow to it. So I'm gonna try to do that with the diddle at the end and just do four on the floor, okay? So. Sorry. Got it. That's basically it. Now, go on. He plays that for six. He plays it 6 times, and then the seventh time, which is this measure, he plays. This is sort of like a half measure fill on 3 and 4. But he's got a mid tom. Here it is. I'll play it a little slower. So this is part of, I think let's do number, so those are, you get through 24 and you get to 25, and 25, 24. I might have miscounted. No, 29, I'm sorry. You get to 29, that's where the fill is, and now 30, which is the third line down, 30. The introduction, what he has is he has a stacker over his floor tom. This is a stacker, this square. He plays that. It's the same exact groove that he's playing here. The only difference is instead of using the floor tom, he's moving it up. He's playing that on 1. He's playing the stacker, which is like situated right above over his floor tom. So it's easy for him to bring his hand from the stacker down to the floor. Stacker, stacker, floor. And then he only does that on 1. And then he does the same thing. Maybe he breaks it up just a little, but he does basically the same thing as this. Is this what we just played? All right. And basically, this is a repeat of this. So this is a repeat of this, except for the stacker, and this is a repeat of that. That's it. All right. So I want, that'd be a lot to cover over today's lesson. Next time we'll start with 38, which is really cool. He plays that 8 times. So I think that today, if you could start slow on these are really cool tom grooves. They are really cool. They sound great. They go really well with the song. So it's not easy to get your hands moving around your kit in a quick enough fashion. I just wanted to say that the more you practice this, the faster you're going to get from one drum to the next, and move your hands in the right way, and get them done so that it doesn't sound really stressed out. You could come when you're stressed out. This kind of groove would sound you're going to miss you're going to miss the. You're going to be slightly off. Okay, if you don't get your hands to the right drums, slightly. I'm not saying this is going to happen to you. You probably, you're going to master this, no problem in a couple. But if you're struggling, please slow it down. Get your hands moving, and remember which where your hand needs to go next, and which drum needs to, and which drum, and then you slow it down and play it slow. You're going to get this really no problem. It's going to sound great. Okay. today, I think that's we'll wrap it up. So I wanted to say, hope you have a great week. Practice a lot. Talk to you later.